4-0. The Cubs scored a 3-0 win over the Cardinals in St. Louis. The Dodgers beat the Rockies 3-1. The Marlins pounded the Giants 12-5. A big 10-1 win for the Twins at home over the Mariners. The Blue Jays shut out the Guardians 6-0. The Tigers shut out the A's 8-0. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Find what you love what you find. A total wine and more. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Walk right through the door. It's all here to explore. With guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Drink responsibly, B21.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the dogs out? Spruce.
It's Spruce, the new hard-working, worry-free weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people and pets. When used as directed, spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Weeds die by the next day. Find Spruce wherever weed killers are sold.
If you want to be an alpha,
you've got to get the winning edge.
It's kind of a necessary ingredient if you want to lead the pack. So mark your territory
with the winning edge.
You're in the big leagues. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
Welcome to the weekend edition of Football Full Circle right here on the SportsGrid Radio Network, Sirius Channel 159. Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel talking all things NFL. A little bit of a light day regarding the NFL news and notes. Russell Wilson did come out on NFL.com and say that he's not supposedly the legitimate starter. There is a quarterback competition. Scott and I will talk about that at the top of the hour. Also, Cincinnati, the Bengals, potentially the framework in place for them there. $470 million potential agreement for the Bengals to play in Cincinnati through 2036. We'll see how that plays out and affects their playoff hopes this year with Joe Burrow. But let's talk about the quarterback controversies or battles in camp. The market is now back up, Scott, on FanDuel. It was just New Orleans for a couple of days. They then put up the other four markets. We have Cleveland. We do have Indianapolis with Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones battling it out, and the New York Giants. When you looked earlier for the New York Giants, you looked at Russell Wilson. He was minus 1,400 to be the potential starter. We now see him in the area of about minus 1,300, but Jackson Dart has now maybe closed the gap. He went from 14-1. He's now plus 1,060. So the big question is, can Jackson Dart steal the starting role from Russell Wilson week number one?
It's not a bad hunch bet, Joe, right? Because you got two ways to win. You know, you could do it based on, okay, you think Jackson Dart ultimately is the better quarterback, and he'll show that over the next 2.5 months, preseason, everything like that. Or, you know, Russell Wilson gets hurt like he did last year. I mean, now you're holding on to a 10-1 ticket in which you would think Dart would be the next man standing. So, I mean, that's a strong possibility. It happened last year. I mean, the guy's 35-plus years old. Who knows how he's going to come out of training camp? So, you know, if you buy into hunches, and I do, that's not a bad little hunch. I'm surprised it's that high. I really am. I mean, I know they don't want to lower it because they think Russell's going to be the obvious starter, but that ability for him to get hurt, miss a game, you know, at the beginning of the year, that's a decent possibility for 10, 11, 12-1.
I agree. The other question, too, is Jameis Winston, right? He was second for much of the offseason, and Dart was third overall. Jameis Winston is 13-1. So the question is, why did the Giants make the move of Winston and Russell Wilson and then add Dart into the mix? And depending upon when you look at their win total, right? It was earlier in the year, it was 3.5. They bet it up. Now it's in the area of 5.5. Does Russell Wilson have to start week number one to bet that over 5.5, or do you think Winston and Dart potentially could get that if they're inserted into the lineup?
I'd be surprised. Listen, if Dart is good enough to play, Joe, I don't think Winston will be on this team come September, whatever the first game is for them, 7th, 8th, 9th, whatever it is. If they see Dart's really not there yet and it's going to take a little while, then I think they'll keep Winston. But don't forget, they signed Winston before they got Russell Wilson. And, we've had this conversation before. I think they signed Winston because they weren't sure about Wilson. Who knew what he was coming or going, retiring, going back to Pittsburgh, whatever the case may be. So they have to sign someone. They sign Winston. Then the dominoes fall the right way. They get Dart and they get Russell. And now kind of, Jameis is the afterthought. So if Dart shows a little something in camp, I can't help but think the Giants will try and trade Winston. So I wouldn't be betting Jameis Winston. I wouldn't.
Yeah, he's 13-1 right now. He might not even be on the lineup or on the roster, depending upon how camp plays out. If there is an injury to a starter or a key member of a backup type of situation, maybe a team makes a move for Jameis Winston. We'll see how that plays out. The other market movement, Scott, has been with the Colts. We saw Anthony Richardson for much of the offseason have, chalk, right? He was minus 360 about a month and a half ago. It dipped because of the shoulder injury. What did that mean? Big picture. Or would he miss an exorbitant amount of time? He's now only minus 130. We saw Daniel Jones go from basically plus 140. He was negative money or minus money at one point. He's now only minus 106. So if you're going to make that bet right here, right now, right, basically in the month of July, are you betting AR to make the start week number 1, or are you going to take a shot with Daniel Jones minus 106?
Yeah, I'm probably taking a shot at Daniel Jones. I know he's not any good, and I really don't think he's a very good quarterback. I really, I don't think they're going to have much success with him. But he's good enough that if they're going to go 50-50, who looks better in camp and everything, Daniel Jones is going to look better than Anthony Richardson. This is a bet based on, do the Colts want to give Richardson one more year to try to prove himself? Or do you go with the better quarterback? And the better quarterback's going to be Daniel Jones. I mean, to me, I don't think it's going to be close. So if you think the Colts really just want to win and everything, then they'll go with Daniel Jones, and that's the way I would go. Versus giving, AR just one more crack at this thing.
I agree. I think Daniel Jones does give them the best opportunity. Love him or hate him, he's a better pocket passer than Anthony Richardson that struggled for a majority of the regular season last year, under 50% completion percentage, could not make the short to intermediate throws, could, make dynamic deep ball throws, but then couldn't hit a tight end 5 yards away, and third down conversions were absolutely atrocious for this team last year. The other two quarterback battles, and we've touched on them throughout the offseason, is Cleveland. Joe Flacco still solidified, Scott, as the first choice at plus 110. Kenny Pickett 2-1, Dylan Gabriel at a 5-1 number, and Shedeur Sanders with the tickets that he had in terms of speeding, he now falls to 7-1. I still like the 2-1 number on Kenny Pickett, but you're buying into Flacco to be the potential week 1 starter.
I think so. They're almost a win now team. I mean, how long can Stefanski just, keep on treading water with these bad football teams and these bad decisions and all the chaos? Right? I mean, you're talking about a team that's just got clean house written all over, kind of like the Giants too with Daboll, right? It's the same thing. I mean, you got to start winning. So, who's the best quarterback out of those 4? You would think it would be, Flacco, right? I mean, he had success there 2 years ago. I don't know why they didn't re-sign him, but they didn't. He's back. And if you just want to, compete against the Cincinnati Bengals and the, Baltimore Ravens, you can't go 500, which would be a great improvement, right? But you can't try and go 500 and think, what, Kenny Pickett's going to be your quarterback in the future, or Dylan Gabriel? I don't think the coach will survive that. I really don't. So I think it's Joe Flacco.
Yeah, I mean, I guess part of it is what Flacco brings, right? We saw that play out a couple of years ago. He gets them to the playoffs. They plateaued. If you keep him in the pocket the way he was last year with the Colts, better defenses were able to put pressure on him and sack him, and that is the cause of concern. I'd much rather go with a younger quarterback like Kenny Pickett to see if you could sort of rejuvenate and get some upside from what we saw maybe in terms of Sam Darnold and the situation with Baker Mayfield. If you can channel that and you get an above-average Kenny Pickett, maybe potentially you have a quarterback on the cheap for the next 2 or 3 seasons and he could be your starter for years to come. We'll see how that situation plays out. New Orleans, major rebuild. Tyler Shuck is there at minus 310, followed by Spencer Rattler at plus 210. I think Kellen Moore has no other option but Tyler Shuck. Why would you draft him in regards to the first 3 rounds and not start him? You're in a major rebuild with no optimism. Tyler Shuck, to me, seems like the...
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing because you don't have anybody there. No veteran quarterbacks. So, there we go. Yeah, but you don't have any veteran quarterbacks, Joe. Shuck, Rattler, Hayner, and the Deckers. I mean, I would have thought they would have brought in a Jameis Winston, one of those guys, somewhere along the line, just in case. I mean, but none of them stand out. That's probably the worst quarterback room in the NFL. It really is.
Yeah, we'll see. When we come back, Scott and I will dive into...
So we'll be right back in-game live. Yeah. Football full circle. Scott and Joe right here on SportsGrid.
Four out of 5 scientists agree it's smarter to be on SportsGrid, and we're pretty sure that one scientist is still a virgin.
He just gives that vibe.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With your news flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. This update brought to you by Progressive. Windows' infamous blue screen of death will soon turn black. After more than 40 years of being set against a very recognizable blue, the updated error message will soon be displayed across a black background. The change to the notorious error screen comes as part of broader efforts by Microsoft to improve the resiliency of the Windows operating system in the wake of last year's CrowdStrike incident, which crashed millions of Windows machines worldwide. The Justice Department said it intends to try Kilmar Abrego Garcia on federal smuggling charges in Tennessee before it moves to deport him, addressing fears that he could be expelled again from the U.S. within days. U.S. Magistrate Judge Barbara Holmes in Nashville recently ruled that Abrego Garcia has a right to be released from jail while awaiting trial on the smuggling charges, but she decided Wednesday to keep him in custody for at least a few more days. I'm Trey Westerberg with your news flash.
Have you heard? Kohl's Instant Kohl's Cash event is happening now. That's right. You can get $10 Kohl's Cash to use instantly when you spend $25 or more. Get it today and spend it today on summer must-haves from your favorite brands. Yep, you definitely don't want to miss this. Get instant Kohl's Cash while you still can at Kohl's and Kohl's.com. Offers end June 29th. Some exclusions apply. Coupons and Kohl's Cash do not apply to Sephora at Kohl's. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
When you switch to Progressive and bundle your home and auto, you could save hundreds, and that's a surprising amount of money.
Whoa, that's like farmer's market money.
That's like give me a gallon of that locally sourced raw honey money.
That's certified organic heirloom tomatoes in every imaginable color except red money.
That's let's get 2 pounds of pink oyster mushrooms money. I'm not even sure I like pink oyster mushrooms.
Guess it's time to find out, because you could save hundreds when you switch to Progressive and bundle. Then the world is your pink oyster mushroom. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
There's something you should know and always remember.
SportsGrid does not increase luck.
We're your unfair advantage for the latest sports gaming information. If you're looking for luck,
go find a horseshoe.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
Welcome back. It is Football Full Circle here on the Grid, the weekend edition, breaking down some of the quarterback battles around the NFL. FanDuel and the like don't offer those bets in New York anyway, but they do elsewhere around the country. So we're breaking down some of those. I was saying, Joe, that you can make the case, not like 5 years from now or even 3 years from now, but just heading into this year, the New Orleans Saints might have the worst quarterback room in the NFL.
Absolutely, and that's why if you look at the Week 1 matchup against Arizona, I would lay it up to 7 points, Scott. I mean, I know it's Arizona. I know potentially Kyler Murray hot and cold, but that's my favorite Week 1 bet. I'll lay the 4.5. You get a veteran quarterback. You have a veteran group, James Conner, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., and you have that defense that was very opportunistic, potentially going up against Tyler Shook. And I don't care if he's at home. I mean, what are you going to get out of New Orleans in terms of that matchup? Again, I've said it's a complete rebuild. It's a bad situation for Kellen Moore in the sense of they're not going to be competitive this year, but next year or maybe in year number 3, they can get back to a playoff mix. But for them in this season, they'd much rather develop the quarterback, get rid of the expensive parts, and build from the ground up, because right now they're stuck in neutral. I don't think they have an elite quarterback. I don't think Tyler Shook is good. I don't think Spencer Rattler is good, and certainly Jake Hayner. So what are you going to get out of that group? And you're going to expect that team to challenge over 5-6 wins? Just don't see it.
Yeah. Even in that division, I don't see it. So sounds like the answer is no, but is the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints 3 years from now on the roster right now?
No, because I think it'll either be Arch Manning or Garrett Nussmeier potentially. Now, if Arch is the best quarterback in college football and they're the worst team, they're going to take him no matter what. You have the Manning name in New Orleans, and Garrett Nussmeier, his dad's the OC there. So plays in Louisiana at LSU. That's the way they go. But how do we make money, Scott, on them in terms of are we just going to bang their win total to the under and say that this team is going to win 3 games and then take a shot? Because their win total right now on FanDuel, right? If you take the under 3.5, it's plus 250.
What's the real total? 4.5? It's
not
5.5, right?
Yes, it is.
Wow. Are they going to get 6 wins? I mean, I know 6 is not a lot, 6 but still 6 and 11. But that's a lot of wins for a bad football team that halfway through the season, if Arch Manning is looking great and that carrot is being dangled out there that you could bring, Arch Jr. Back to New Orleans. I mean, what a great story that would be, right? I can't help but think they would sign up for that if Archie really is good. I have my doubts about him, Joe. I mean, from what I saw last year, I wasn't enamored. I didn't see oh my God, first overall pick, hands down, greatest quarterback in the world. He had chances. And, he didn't play awful, but, against the better teams, he didn't do anything. It was only against the bad teams that he was scrambling all over the place. I mean, maybe full season under his belt, he turns into that great quarterback. But is that the game plan for New Orleans, though, then you think? Just basically tank this season and get Arch Jr.?
I don't, you never want to hear the word tank in the NFL, but again,
why would they have dragged Chuck then? Why would they have dragged, just go in with the Rattler? Just say, all right, he played a little bit last year and he's going to be our guy. We're going to give him a full season. If that's really the goal.
Yeah, but according to, and this is where we get into the minutia of, GMs and scouts. A lot of scouts had Tyler Shough rated higher than any quarterback that they picked, including Cam Ward, which if you watched him throughout his career, I don't know how you could say that. But again, that was the hype surrounding Tyler Shough. So you take him with a young head coach. If he is, let's say, lightning in a bottle, you can't lose because you got him on the cheap, right? So now if it doesn't work out and he starts through 17 or 15 games, let's just say, and he absolutely sucks, right? That's exactly what you expect. And now you're still picking first overall. And then you could get the quarterback that you really like. I would take a shot on the 3.5 wins to the under at plus 250. Yeah. Scott, they start off with San Francisco, then the Seahawks, then the Bills. The Giants is a winnable game, but they don't have the quarterback advantage with Russell Wilson in that situation. That could be a loss. The Patriots, Bears, Bucks, Rams, Panthers, Falcons. Are they winning any of those games to start the year?
You got 3. I'm looking down their schedule. They have 3, 4 what I would classify winnable games. Giants and Patriots back-to-back at home. I'm not saying they will, but, they're going to go into those games thinking, all right, we got a shot here. Then they got the Jets later on this season when everything will be imploding with the Jets, and then at Tennessee, which I think will be actually halfway decent, but at least looking in. So those are the 4. Outside of that, that's it for me. I don't think they're winning in Chicago. I don't think they're winning against the Rams. I don't even think they're winning against Carolina, to tell you the truth. Maybe the home game, you want to throw that in there. But I don't see 6 wins. I think you're closer to 3 than you are 6. So I would take that bet for a couple shekels. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
This team could really be bad.
Here is the question. Do you believe in Brandon Cooks? Do you believe in Chris Olave to play 17 games? Do you believe in Shaheed to stay, in the lineup for 17 games? All three of those players have had injury issues, right? And when you look at them when they're healthy, they're nowhere near some of the top groups in terms of the conference, let alone the AFC, right? So is this team built for explosive plays with a rookie quarterback? We're not talking about J.J. McCarthy or a quarterback that comes with a lot of hype like Cam Ward, Caleb Williams last year, and Jaden Daniels. We're talking about a quarterback that has struggled on multiple teams. If you watch his career at Oregon, Texas Tech, and even last year in Louisville, he had high highs, but he's still turnover prone. And now he's making the jump with in an under average or slightly 500 group in terms of the wide receiver position without an elite number one. I think we should make the bet now and see if we can catch some value. We'll come back. Yeah. We'll talk more quarterbacks. We'll also dive into some playoff odds right here on Football Full Circle.
There's smart.
And there's not smart.
Not smart is hope as a strategy. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Keep it here.
And win. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
The 2003 NBA Draft. St. Vincent and St. Mary's small forward LeBron James is the first pick of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
The Cleveland Cavaliers select LeBron James.
LeBron has transformed and grown the game like no other player and is considered the greatest in NBA history. For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
To understand the consequences of technology advancing faster than human evolution, University of Texas researchers have created an electronic face tattoo, wirelessly monitoring brain waves and pupil dilation, detecting mental strain without bulky headgear. To understand the stress of workers in professions like truck driving or air traffic controllers, where mental lapses can have serious consequences. Ouch. The big question, does the tattoo come off?
Why does it say lab specimen on your forehead?
Follow me at Capalbo on X and stay tuned to the Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
Sports Rage Tonight.
In Canada, it's how much money does he make? Oh, I met him at a bar once and he wasn't nice to me. It's effing toxic playing for a Canadian hockey team. The fans are losers. They have nothing else going on in their lives. Think about it. You're living in Calgary, Alberta. What the hell do you have going on besides the Calgary Flames?
It's Sports Rage Tonight with Gabe Morency. Weekdays, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network. There comes a point when the chips are down.
To coin a phrase.
When the only thing you can do is stop and wait. Do you want to face that moment prepared?
Or rely on luck?
Get the winning edge.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
Back on Football Full Circle on the weekend edition, breaking down all the prop bets up on FanDuel. Scott and I left off talking about the quarterback battles and the situation in New Orleans. Not very good. If you're looking for New Orleans to be potentially a 6 or a 7-win football team in 2025, Scott and I just don't see it. I reiterated under 3.5 wins plus 250. You want to take the under 5.5. It's minus 135. So we'll see how that plays out. Do you want to take a shot, Scott, on the Indy number? Because the Indianapolis Colts, when you look at that team, and we both believe Daniel Jones gives them the best opportunity to win games immediately, right? And you look at this team 9-8, 8-9 in back-to-back years. They do have one of the best running backs in Jonathan Taylor. They have a team potentially built for a playoff run if they could get above average quarterback play. Would you alt Indy over their win total this year?
What is it? 8.5? I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's in that. I'll give you the exact number, 7.5. It's even money to the over, okay? Plus 100 over 7.5. Under is minus 120. If you want to take over 9.5 wins, you're getting a pretty good number at plus 270.
I'd take a crack on that. I mean, they're going to do what I wouldn't do. So, and I'm not saying either one is really right, but if it's me, Joe, I'm putting Richardson in there. I know what he got in Danny Nichols. He stinks. You know, you're going to live in purgatory with Dan. I'm not a big purgatory guy. I'm just not. And this Colts team, I think on paper is good enough that if you had a really good quarterback, I think they could actually do well. Their defense stinks, but offensively, they got weapons. And that could be one of the best offenses in the AFC, right? With all the pieces they have. So for me, I'm throwing Anthony Richardson in there, and I'm just saying, this is your ship. One last crack at it, and if it's not you, we'll sink to the bottom and go get a top 5 pick and go get a real quarterback next year. But I don't think they'll do that, especially with Irsay passing away. I think the little special karma going into this season, they want to do well. So I think they're going to start Danny Nichols, as I like to call him. But because of that, I think they can get to 10 wins. You know, I like I said, I'm higher on them than I think most people are. And Nichols is a good enough quarterback to get to 10-7, 9-8. You know, competing for a playoff spot, maybe coming up a little bit short, but their schedule's not daunting. You know, it's a halfway decent schedule. They're playing in the AFC South. I mean, their toughest road games, maybe at the Rams, at the Chargers. They play both LA teams on the road, and at Kansas City. But other than that, you know, in their division games, they got Miami, they got Denver, they got Arizona, they got Tennessee, obviously, they got Atlanta, Jacksonville, obviously Jacksonville. Those are all winnable games if you're a halfway decent football team. So 10-7, I don't think is out of the question for them.
I don't think so either. And let's look at this big picture, right? Anthony Richardson, I agree with you. If we're looking at both quarterbacks, big picture, you would want to take a shot on AR to see if he could develop into, you know, an elite athletic quarterback like we've seen in terms of Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels, right? And even Daniel Jones at the early start of his career, mobile, made some big throws. We haven't seen that. The problems are exactly what he had in terms of Florida. The completion percentage. When you keep him in the pocket, he struggles to read coverage. He forces throws that lead to turnovers. You cannot have that on the next level in terms of the NFL. But with Daniel Jones, you're basically getting a more polished version of AR, maybe not as explosive as it relates to the rushing attack, but Daniel Jones can run the football. We've seen it, right? He did it throughout his years with Brian Dable and the New York Giants, right? Before that, he can utilize his legs in terms of the RPO game. So you're not losing that much from AR on the rushing side, but now you're increasing the passing productivity because he is a better pocket passer. So now the way I look at it is, do we take a shot? Because I do believe they're going to be over their win total. I would take a shot over the 7.5 at plus 100, even money. I like that bet, and I would take the 250 on over 9.5. The bigger question is, they're in a winnable division. We know Houston on paper is the best with C.J. Stroud. Do we take a shot at plus 310 to steal the division if Daniel Jones starts?
I don't think they're going to be better than Houston. So if they don't win the division, they're not getting in as a wild card. That's not happening, not in the AFC, right? There's too many good teams. So I would stay away from that. I'd feel more comfortable going 10-7. That would be my favorite bet out of all those. But I think Houston still is a lot better than Indianapolis.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Houston has huge expectations, 12-1 to win the conference. We'll come back with the NFC right here on Football Full Circle.
The winning edge.
You've got it.
But not everybody has it, because not everybody listens to us.
But we're working on that.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the Sports Grid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders. Tampa Bay Rays shortstop Wander Franco found guilty of sexual abuse of a minor in the Dominican Republic. He received a suspended 2-year sentence on Thursday. He had a sexual relationship with a 14-year-old girl when he was 21. Prosecutors sought a 5-year sentence, but the judge said that Franco wouldn't serve further prison time unless he violated certain conditions. The mother of the victim was convicted of sexually trafficking her daughter. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison after prosecutors proved she sought financial gains from Franco and also laundered money. Franco is on baseball's restricted list for failure to report to the team. He's likely to have difficulty receiving a work visa in the U.S. The NASCAR Cup Series debuts its inaugural in-season challenge. 32 drivers are seeded and bracketed into a tournament. This week's race in Atlanta is tomorrow. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive. That's the Sports Grid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Have you heard? Kohl's Instant Kohl's Cash event is happening now. That's right. You can get $10 Kohl's Cash to use instantly when you spend $25 or more. Get it today and spend it today on summer must-haves from your favorite brands. Yep, you definitely don't want to miss this. Get instant Kohl's Cash while you still can at Kohl's and Kohl's.com. Offers end June 29th. Some exclusions apply. Coupons and Kohl's Cash do not apply to Sephora at Kohl's. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Now at Verizon, we have some big news for your peace of mind. For all our customers, existing and new, we're locking in low prices for 3 years guaranteed on My Plan and My Home. That's future you peace of mind. And everyone can save on a brand new phone on My Plan when you trade in any phone from one of our top brands. That's new phone peace of mind. Because at Verizon, whether you're already a customer or you're just joining us, we got you. Visit Verizon today. Price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.
You're listening to Sports Grid.
Spreading the winning edge far and wide.
Terrestrial, internet, TV, satellite, and don't forget our mobile app.
Face it.
The winning edge is everywhere.
Somewhere there's a squirrel frustrated he can't get a phone.
This is the Sports Grid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
All right, back on Football Full Circle. We left off talking about Daniel Jones and the Colts. Scott and I both believe they do have the potential to be a 10-win football team. So take a look at it. Even money to go over the 7.5. You get plus 250 to go over the 9.5 wins. I mentioned we'll dive into some NFC teams, and I'm trying to look at some that we didn't really cover at length. Let's look at Carolina, because we talked about the Saints. We talked about, them being the bottom of the barrel in the division. Potentially, if they put it up, Scott, I think they're going to have the worst record in the NFL. If they put up an 0-16, I still would take it, or 0-17, I would still take a flyer on that. But you and I both buy into Bryce Young in terms of year number 3. For them to make the playoffs this year, they have plus money. And for them to lose, let's say, in the wild card round, it's plus 470. So if you believe Bryce Young and Carolina can get to the playoffs, right? We like what they have from an offensive perspective. To lose in the wild card round on the stages of elimination, plus 470. You buying in?
Well, the NFC, I think, is going to be a little tougher than the AFC this year. So they would have to win the division, right? I mean, unless you think they're going to go 11-6, is 10-7 even going to make it? Probably, but there might be a 10-17 that doesn't get in because of a tiebreaker. So realistically, win the division or bust. Maybe Baker Mayfield gets hurt. So that would be the only way. You'd have to be rooting for another team's injury, which is okay. I know one wants that, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't root for that somewhere along the line to help a bet. So plus 470, I wish it was a little bit more. Like on the scale of these bets, that's a pretty good number. But to make a bet now that I'm not going to cash for a while and I'm getting less than 5-1, probably not. I'd be more comfortable, though, with over 8.5 at 2-1. Can they get to 9 wins in that division? Their schedule with the continued progress, it's not 4-1. I get that, or 470, but I think 9 wins is a little bit more doable than making the postseason.
All right, so here it is. So if you take that mentality, right, they have a 6.5 win total on FanDuel. Juice to the over at minus 140. If you believe they're going to make the playoffs, then you would alter it over the 8.5 wins at 2-1, right? Because we don't believe 8 and 9. I mean, maybe it could get you into the playoffs, but most likely not in terms of how many good teams there are, right? So they would have to win the division. They're plus 380 to win the division, which isn't that bad of a bet considering. Now, we know the dominance, and we talked about it with Baker Mayfield and Todd Bowles. They've won 3 straight division titles with Bowles, right? Baker Mayfield, even last year. And think about the injuries that they had, right? Godwin, and then Evans goes down, and they still found a way to win the division last year. They're definitely on paper the strongest team. But would you take them at 380 to steal it? Or do you just said the 2-1 number? I like the 2-1 number for Carolina. 9 and 8, I think they can achieve. Now, it's not going to be easy, but I think it's doable. And then I think we'll take a deeper dive. Since you're buying into Bryce Young, do you believe he could get over his number of 31.50.5 this year?
Oh, I definitely believe that. I definitely think he's going to do that this season. The way he's progressing, which is shocking because, man, he looked as bad as you could look in year number 1. I mean, you could, people, head coaches being fired, GMs being fired. You know, if this guy turns out to be a really, really good quarterback, that poor GM, he's like, well, what happened to me? The same thing with the head coach. Like, what, you gave him time to develop, but you didn't, give us the time, same thing. So, but I think his number, if it's 31, 32, I think he does go over that. Comfortable with the 9 wins. The question is now, as much as I just said, the 470 is no good, but if they win the division, they do get a home game. Well, I think about the teams they're going to be facing in the first round of the playoffs, whether it's Detroit or Green Bay or Philadelphia or Washington. They're not beating them. So you might as well take, if you're going to think they're going to win the division, you might as well take get eliminated in the first round at plus 470 for $100 more.
Right. That's not bad, right? That's the way I would look at it. If you have all this optimism, bottom line, they don't make the playoffs. Bryce Young is done and they're going to move on, right? He really needs to progress in year number 3. And to your point about him and looking at the 31.50, it sounds like, he should blow through that number. But let's not forget year number 1, where he was absolutely atrocious. He threw for 28.77. Last year, because he was benched for 3 games, he only threw for 2,403 yards. So the hope is you get him back in year number 3 with Dave Canales and all the playmakers that they have now, McMillan that they drafted, and now all of a sudden that offense should be explosive, hopefully. So we'll see. I mean, last year he had a quarterback rating of 82.2. Completion percentage is where he needs to step up. 59% in year number 1, 2023. Last year, only 60%. You want to see him more in the area of like 64, 65%, where that shows now he's confident. He knows where he wants to go with the football, and we could buy into him as the quarterback of the future. But that being said, I mean, you want to take a shot on his touchdown total? What do you think his touchdown total is this year, Scotty? Don't look.
I will look. 26, 27?
18.5, Scott.
Ooh, wow. That's low. He's not getting benched. See, the difference between this year and last year and 2 years ago, Joe, he's not getting benched this year for Andy Dalton, who re-signed, right? I mean, he did enough last year where he proved, okay, I'm a halfway decent quarterback, and let me learn through the lumps of learning.
Right.
Whereas last year, off the year before, he was just awful, and first chance they had to pull him from the lineup, they did, which I understand. But this year, that won't be the case. So, I think he's going to play a full season unless he gets hurt. Yeah, he's not throwing for 19 touchdowns in 17 games. He's got to hit that number. He has to.
He has to is the question. You're absolutely right. So now you've piqued my curiosity, and they don't have this up. I have to look on DK and some of the other markets. If we believe that obviously Leggett and Thielen comes back, and now you bring in the speedster McMillan from Arizona, they're going to be a wide open offense with Canales in year number 2. Do you believe, as a flyer, if I gave you, let's just say, and I don't know what the number is, I have to look, but they only have limited quarterbacks up on FanDuel for 30 plus touchdowns. They don't have Burrow. They don't have some of the others. Like Cam Ward to throw for 30 is plus 550. So if Bryce Young is, let's say, I don't know, in the area of, let's say, 8-1 or 10-1, would you take a flyer for the 30 touchdowns?
I would. Because again, you got to believe in the trend, the progression of him just getting better and better each season. If that's the case, he's going to play all 17 games. Defense really isn't any good, so they're going to have to score some points. That they draft a wide receiver in the first round, the McMillan kid, as you mentioned, so that they want to throw the football. 30 touchdowns, not that many, especially in the division they play. You might get into some shootouts with Tampa Bay. The other two teams stink defensively anyway. That's not bad. 30, if they give you decent money on that, absolutely.
Yeah, it is interesting because you look at Michael Penix's numbers, right? And his number, Michael Penix has the exact same passing touchdown total, 18.5, as Bryce Young.
Wow.
And he's got basically almost 150 more yards at 3,300.5. Same division, not as much experience, and there's more optimism you could say about Michael Penix than there is Bryce Young, that was potentially the number one pick in the draft a couple of seasons ago. What does that say about Bryce Young? He doesn't get to those numbers this year. He's going to be on another team as a backup.
Yeah. And you got a much better running game in Atlanta as well.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll dive into more NFC teams right here on Football Full Circle. Lisi and Wetzel coming right back.
Saying every SportsGrid listener is a legend, but you might start thinking about who's going to play you in the movie.
Just saying.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With your news flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. This update brought to you by Progressive. Windows' infamous blue screen of death will soon turn black. After more than 40 years of being set against a very recognizable blue, the updated error message will soon be displayed across a black background. The change to the notorious error screen comes as part of broader efforts by Microsoft to improve the resiliency of the Windows operating system in the wake of last year's CrowdStrike incident, which crashed millions of Windows machines worldwide. The Justice Department said it intends to try Kilmar Abrego Garcia on federal smuggling charges in Tennessee before it moves to deport him, addressing fears that he could be expelled again from the U.S. within days. U.S. Magistrate Judge Barbara Holmes in Nashville recently ruled that Abrego Garcia has a right to be released from jail while awaiting trial on the smuggling charges, but she decided Wednesday to keep him in custody for at least a few more days. I'm Trey Westerberg with your news flash.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-473-9933. 800-473-9933. 800-473-9933.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Remember when you were thankful you could just get AM and FM?
Things have progressed.
Now even an app on your phone can give you a 21st century thrill with that little drop of heaven called
the deposit notification.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
All right, continuing the conversation, we've been diving into the offseason player prop odds up on FanDuel, and now I'm looking up on DraftKings, Scott, and this is why you have to shop around. FanDuel does a great job of putting up parlays that you and I did over the course of the past couple of weeks. We talked about Bryce Young's number, 18.5 up on FanDuel. 17.5 is the number in terms of touchdowns on DraftKings, a whole touchdown less. He throws for 15 last year. I mean, that's a great number. It's minus 110 either way.
Just out of curiosity, what is Drake May for New England? Because I'm enamored at the fact that the boys in Vegas seem to love this New England team for some ungodly reason, and they're downplaying this Carolina team. So
19 and a half, Scotty.
I was going to say, I bet he has more. I bet it's higher. That's a bit, boy. Even that's kind of low, but still.
I'll say this.
Quarterback.
Yeah, I'm with you. The under on FanDuel, the 19 and a half, right, is even money, a plus 100. A lot of these numbers, though, Scott, are very tempered. And just for instance, what do you think Justin Herbert's number is? Touchdowns.
33?
22 and a half.
Wow. Oh, Justin Herbert. I'm thinking Joey B.
Yeah.
But no. I still would have said like 26, 27. 22 and a half?
That's up on DraftKings right now. That's a cheap number. Now, on FanDuel, they have Herbert's number at 21 and a half. 2 touchdowns, a full touchdown less.
Less. Well, that's big. I mean,
minus 108 to the over.
I think they're going to be running the ball, I guess, with Harbaugh.
I mean,
but I don't think so.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and this is what people need to understand. You might have a run-heavy offense, and you might be able to move the football between the 30s, but you're not running it in on each and every red zone opportunity. Right. Short to intermediate passes. Justin Herbert last year, right, in terms of that lineup with Ladd McConkey that came on, he threw for 23 touchdowns. The progression, you look at his career, 31, 38, 25, 20, 23. Do we believe that Justin Herbert is going to regress from last year? No, right?
No.
They do add Najee Harris. They have a bona fide rushing attack now. They got rid of the old backs in terms of Gus Edwards and Haskins. That was there, and J.K. Dobbins. They now have an above-average wide receiver core. Ladd McConkey still might be the main target. But you're telling me if Justin Herbert plays 17 games or even 16 games, he can't get to 27, 28 touchdowns, and we blow right through these numbers?
Yeah. And this is not Michigan, also, by the way. I mean, Harbaugh did throw the football when he was at San Francisco with a lot of success. So he's not an idiot. He's not like stuck in his ways of like, okay, I'm going to just run the ball. And that's just what I'm going to do. He has shown he can throw the football. So a little regress last year for Herbert, but I think he gets 24. I mean, again, a lot of these things we keep on repeat ourselves, but it's all based on will the guy stay healthy. He's had some injury issues, but nothing serious. If he doesn't get 23, 24 touchdowns, 21, if you get the low number, I'd be real surprised.
I'd be surprised as well. And when we look at some of the updated odds on FanDuel, I took a look at Dak Prescott. We think Dak, and we talked about it with the emergence of George Pickens and now CD Lamb. They're going to throw the football all over the yard. 26 and a half is Dak's number. Again, juice to the under at minus 130, which seems like a cheap number. You want to take a shot over 27 or more, it's minus 102. I took a look at Joe Burrow's number. The only passing touchdown that they have listed for Joe Burrow, they don't allow you to do 35. They don't allow you to do 40 or 45 on FanDuel. They do offer that for Cam Ward, Pat Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, no Joe Burrow. The reason why is his number this year is 33 and a half. Juice to the over at minus 122. So if he gets to 40, what do you think the number is for Joe Burrow? If they tack a number on it, might be what? Plus 160 for Burrow to get 35 or more?
35, yeah. 40, probably 2-1, I would think. 220,
Which isn't
230.
that great. It's not a great number.
It really isn't. Yeah, for 40
Right?
touchdowns. I mean, I must say, all these numbers except for Joey B, like, the boys in Vegas are like telling you there's not going to be that much throwing. There's not going to be that much scoring next year.
Significantly, Scott, significantly low. Like Josh Allen's number, he threw for 28 touchdowns last year. He's right on his number, 27 and a half, and they're giving you plus money at plus 112. So him and Joe Burrow are right there. Everybody else, like Lamar's number, what do you think Lamar's number is? 28 and a half, it's minus 114 either way.
Wow. I thought that would be actually a little bit lower. I know he had a lot last year. People still, like myself, still say he can't throw the football, and hit water if he fell out of a boat. But he did numbers-wise. The numbers are there for him, I will say. And with that offense, he probably gets, 30 touchdown passes again. But I'm more inclined to go with the guys that are like in the low 20s to go over than I am him to go over.
Okay. I'll give you a bet, and I'll give you my mindset. I love Jalen Hurts at 5-1 to potentially throw 30 touchdowns. The reason why I say that is I understand Saquon, but now I feel like the mindset has changed. They, I believe, want to win 2 or 3 Super Bowls. So now you need to preserve Saquon Barkley. You need to preserve him for the postseason. That means more A.J. Brown. That means more Devontae Smith. Now with an MVP under his belt, I believe Jalen Hurts wants to showcase, hey, I'm a marquee quarterback as well. 5-1 for him to throw 30 or more.
Yeah, I actually like that philosophy as well. I think they're going to be throwing the ball a lot more. Saquon either save him or, God forbid, the guy gets hurt again, but he's an injury waiting to happen, right? He's overdue for another injury. So, and exactly that would hurt. So, he wants to prove the world that this is his football team, that he can throw the ball. It's not just a push-tush. Instead of doing the goofy push-tush for the 3-yard line, now let's throw the football, get some cheap touchdown passes.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk more about the NFC coming back. You look at Philadelphia right now, 11.5 win total on FanDuel, plus 110 to the over. We'll come back and wrap it up.
Is winning the lottery. Strategy is settling your divorce before cashing in the ticket.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. SportsGrid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channels dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on SportsGrid Radio and Sirius XM Channel 159. SportsGrid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Moneyline at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Pharrell Coast to Coast keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi, then boils over with Gabe Morency on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find SportsGrid that's best for you, go to SportsGrid.com. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Imagine combining the exciting investment opportunity of cryptocurrencies with the power of artificial intelligence to maximize your IRA, 401k, or other investment funds. Listen, if you're looking for ways to accelerate your retirement growth, Block Trust IRA has market-leading strategies and solutions for all levels of investors, from $1,000 to millions. And they partner with Bitcoin Magazine's #1 crypto trading fund in the world to maximize your returns. Plus, their team of IRA specialists is here to help you roll over your IRA or qualified retirement account to the new world of cryptocurrency investments. So make this free call right now to set up your account and learn more.
800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. That's 800-434-5313.
It's stark but true.
You can either listen to SportsGrid for strategies, odds, and more, or you can pay your bills by digging in your couch cushions for change.
Just be sure to wear gloves.
Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
All right, back on Football Full Circle. Scott and I have been diving deep into the player props, also the team props. I left off talking about Jalen Hurts, the 5-1 number for 30-plus touchdowns. I like Philadelphia to potentially repeat. They are the front runners to win not just an NFC championship, but a Super Bowl in 2025. I like both of those bets in the offseason. Scott, we love doing trivia, especially at the end of the last segment of the show. So this quarterback last year, don't look, threw for 29 touchdowns and 3,775 yards. His passing total this year is 3,500.5. Want to take a shot on who it is?
He threw for 3,900 yards last year?
3,775.
37.
They have him 200 and basically 300 yards less in this season. 3,500.5. Juiced minus 114 either way.
I was gonna say, believe it or not, Aaron Rodgers, but he didn't throw for that many yards, so I know it's not him. How about Tua Tags, our boy Tua?
Very good guess. You're wrong, and this is a player you should know because you like him. Big Bad Bo Nix, 3,775 yards and 29 touchdowns. So let's look at Nix's number this season. I gave you 3,500.5. I'm looking for his touchdown total. It is 24.5 on DraftKings. You taking a shot?
I take a shot. I think there will be some regression for the team, as a whole, and him obviously that included. But I'll take a shot at it. It's funny, his number's that much more than some of those other quarterbacks you were listing before, right?
Right.
But I'll take. I didn't think he threw for 3,700 yards last year. I would have guessed like 3,300 or 3,400. But
yeah,
I guess they threw the ball a little bit more than I thought, especially second half of the season.
Second half. He had some big breakout performances. They beat up on Atlanta. That was the Kirk Cousins game. I think it was 38-6. He had 4 touchdowns in that performance. Did play well towards the end of the regular season. They went toe-to-toe with the Chargers in a couple games. For them to miss the playoffs, though, Scott, is minus 110. Are you buying into Sean Payton? Year number 3 that they're a playoff contender again.
Contender, but I would say no. But anyways, his passing yards is 3,500. So it's weird, again, that if he throws for 37 and change as a rookie, how's he not going to throw for 3,500 his second year? Even if the team doesn't do as well, you would think he'd be able to reach that number. But I could see that team not making the playoffs. It kind of did it smoke and mirrors. They're a defensive-led team, and people tend not to buy into the defensive-led teams as much as they do the offensive teams. You kind of keep it going a little bit. At Pick'em, that division, tough division. You're looking at 3 wildcard teams. They did it last year. That's tough to do, though, in one division. So I would say no. I would bet the no at even money on that or minus 110.
Okay, who has a better season? Justin Herbert, Bo Nix, and which team would you buy into more, Chargers or Broncos? Because the Broncos win total right now, if you want to take a shot and they regress to your point, and let's say they go 7-10, you could get 2-1 on that, plus 210 to the under 7.5 wins.
Yeah, I would do that. I think the Chargers, not even close. I'm more optimistic on the Chargers and Herbert than I am the Broncos and Nix this year. I think they'll get just better and better with Harbaugh there in control.
I sort of agree with that. I would take a shot at the under 7.5 wins at plus 210. Again, when you're looking at their win total right now, it's 9.5, which seems like a lot. 9.5 on FanDuel, over at plus 110. You want to take a shot on the under 9.5, you get a little more security. Got to lay out some more juice. It's minus 130. If they're a 12-win football team with Sean Payton, and you believe that, plus 330 to the over 11.5 on FanDuel. Not bad odds. Yeah. I just can't buy into it. I think they caught a lot of teams last year by surprise. Let's not forget they beat Kansas City 38-0. That was after Kansas City clinched the number 1 overall seed. Carson Wentz made that spot. They did play Kansas City tough, lost a road game to them in Arrowhead. What would they lose by 2 points? That was with the missed field goal at the end of the, or made field goal at the end of the game. So I agree with you. I think they're a middle of the road team. I think they'll have some quality wins, but at the end of the day, I would take the minus 110 in terms of the under, and then to miss the playoffs. We'll be back next week on Football Full Circle for our great producer, Danny Ohlers and Scott Wetzel. I'm Lisi. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll see you next week.
found the advantage for gaming, odds, and more. But we call it the winning edge for short. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.